started having sinus issues probably 10, 15 years ago. I noticed it was mostly at night that my nose would just be stuffy. But right before COVID, sometime in 2019, I noticed that my sense of smell was diminishing, and over a period of a few weeks, it went away completely. I went to the doctor and I said, my nose is terribly stuffy and I can't smell anything. They did an x-ray and he said, oh, you just have a sinus infection. He gave me a prescription for an antibiotic and for a steroid, which took care of it for a week or so. And from that point on, for a 3-year period, I went to the doctor over and over and over again. I knew that taking those kinds of medications really weren't good for you, and it was really worrying me that I was taking it so much. I mean, almost continuously for 3 years. I finally really pressed the doctor. Something is going on. This should not be happening. This has been going on for 3 years. They did a CT scan and he said, oh my gosh, you're completely blocked. I need to send you to an ear, nose, and throat doctor. I went to the ear, nose, and throat doctor and he told me that I had chronic rhinosinusitis, that it wasn't just a sinus infection, that it was a serious condition that I would be dealing with for the rest of my life. I had no idea what it was, so of course I Googled it like everybody would do. I turned to Google, and Google scared me half to death. It really did frighten me, and to be honest, when I told my family about it, I was telling them this through tears, because the fact that I have to deal with this for the rest of my life. Living with CRS has impacted my life. It has oftentimes restricted my activity. I love to play golf. There was a period of time that I played golf a couple rounds a week. I've played regularly since 2006. But between my asthma and the sinus issues, I haven't played golf now in over a year. It's just been impossible. When your nose is stuffed, it's impossible to sleep when you can't breathe like that. I mean, just think of a cold times 100. When you can't breathe and there's no position you can get any relief, it's exacerbated by the fact that I have asthma as well. So I have trouble breathing anyway, so you put this chronic rhinosinusitis on top of asthma, it makes for a terrible situation. My asthma has affected every aspect of my life since I graduated from high school. That's when it really started getting really bad. I've missed a lot of things because of my asthma. The way that I feel on a daily basis dictates what I can do that day. I could plan to go to an amusement park. It really dictates whether or not I accept invitations to things. It determines whether, if I go to a place, whether I'm going to be just sitting in the chair doing nothing or I'm going to be able to get up and dance. I went to an event with my daughter and her 3 children. This was just last week, and I had to go sit down at a point where we were moving around, and it was like, okay, I'll be here, so you can just come back. You can come back, I'll be sitting right here, because the walking was just too much for me. On good days, I can do everything everybody else can do, but on bad days, I can't do anything. Having asthma has been embarrassing to me. Most people get it when they're kids and they grow out of it, and it was reversed for me. It didn't really get bad until after I graduated from high school, and then it got progressively worse, and I'm thinking, this is supposed to be the prime of my life. I should be running around and, doing all kinds of things. And I couldn't. I couldn't do any of those things. When I was younger, in my 20s, I was hospitalized probably once every quarter for years. And then I went over 30 years without being hospitalized for my asthma. And then I ended up having to go to emergency for my asthma in December. And then I was hospitalized again in May. I was hospitalized for 8 days. That's the longest period of time I've ever been in the hospital for my asthma. So it was really bad. I had a real issue in the hospital with my asthma. There was the classic case of not paying attention to the patient. The doctor would come in and he would, put the stethoscope on my chest and he would mumble something and he would basically run out of the room. He wouldn't wait to answer questions. He wouldn't wait to say anything to me. And this happened for like 2 days. And my asthma was still really, really bad at that point. It was difficult for me to talk and to really grab him and to really say what I needed to say. I had to call my sister in California and put her on speakerphone to nail him down and to say, we need to speak with whoever is in charge of her care because she cannot see that doctor anymore. Something has to be done. They're not really taking care of her, and they really weren't for the first 3 days. They took that particular doctor off of my case. They brought in a team of 3 people, and it turned around after that point. But it was put your foot down and really screaming, demanding to see somebody that would take the time to figure out what I needed to get better. Anybody that's trying to navigate the healthcare system, regardless of the medical condition, is that you have to advocate for yourself. You have to demand answers. Don't just take a prescription. Don't just allow somebody to treat symptoms. Don't allow anybody to brush you off or push you aside. You have to demand answers that you want, answers that you need. And ask questions. Don't just trust what's being said. You've got to ask questions too, because one of the things that I know that happened with me, with my asthma and with CRS, they just told me, oh, it's a sinus infection. Okay, well, my follow-up question should have been, but this has been going on for 3 years, so what else is happening? What else can you do to find out what's going on? What you've done so far is not enough. We need to move on to something else. I should have done that. I mean, to let it go on for 3 years is ridiculous. It's very important to have a support system, especially this last stint of 8 days in the hospital. I had family and friends that were calling and texting me constantly while I was there, and that helped a lot. It helped a lot to know that they were praying for me and that they cared about what was going on with me. I can't even imagine being in that situation without support. I am so happy to share my story with Now Included, because I have searched high and low for people that look like me, that are going through the things that I'm going through, and I have not found them. So it is my hope that telling my story will provide somebody with the hope, the comfort, the answers, the support, or whatever it is that they need. So I'm glad to be included. I'm now included.